They laughed when they saw it. A lightweight black rifle that looked like it belonged in a toy store, not a battlefield. The Viet Cong called it the plastic gun. But soon the laughter stopped, because when the M16 worked, it didn't just fire bullets. It changed what jungle warfare sounded like. Fast, sharp bursts, the future of war. The problem? That future almost failed before it began. And the reason why says more about arrogance and bureaucracy than about any weapon ever made. By the time U.S. troops withdrew in 1973, the M16A1 was everywhere. It had gone from a disaster to a standard. The weapon that once failed its soldiers became the rifle that defined modern warfare. But the story left scars inside the military. It proved that technology means nothing without discipline and feedback from the people using it. After Vietnam, every new weapon went through stricter testing, and soldiers were part of the design process. That shift changed U.S. doctrine permanently. The M16's evolution also reshaped global weapons design. Its small caliber, high-speed round became the model for NATO rifles. Even decades later, its descendant, the M4, carries the same DNA. While Congress argued over blueprints and supply chains, the soldiers in Vietnam were fighting a very different battle, one between life and a weapon they couldn't trust. Letters from the field began flooding home. They weren't written by generals or engineers, but by young men sitting in wet foxholes, cleaning a rifle that wasn't supposed to need cleaning. One Marine from the 3rd Division wrote to his mother, "They told us it was the best rifle in the world. Out here, it jams when we need it most. We keep them spotless, but it doesn't matter." Another soldier, stationed near Pleiku, described watching his friend fall beside him. He was firing when the bolt jammed halfway. He tried to clear it and didn't get the chance. I can still hear the click that should have been a shot. Army reports later confirmed what those letters already made clear. Entire patrols had started carrying cleaning rods into combat, taping them to the side of their rifles. If a gun jammed, the man next to you would drop to one knee and hammer the rod into the chamber, praying the next burst wouldn't come before the bolt closed. In the mud and heat of Vietnam, trust in the rifle was gone. Some soldiers swapped weapons with fallen comrades just to get one that still worked. Others kept the M16 but loaded only single rounds, hoping to avoid a jam. Those letters reached the desks of lawmakers months later, but by then, hundreds of Americans had already learned the lesson firsthand. The weapon designed to make war more efficient had made it more unpredictable. For many, the sound of a jammed bolt became one of the war's most haunting memories. By 1968, the M16A1 had replaced most of the old rifles. In ambushes and close-range fights, its rapid burst tore through the dense jungle. Units armed with the new model could outshoot and outmaneuver the enemy. Captured North Vietnamese diaries described American fire as light but endless. It terrified them, not because of volume, but because it never seemed to stop. For soldiers, that confidence mattered. They no longer feared the rifle would jam. They cleaned it, trusted it, and it paid them back with reliability. The M16 became part of the soldier's identity, light, efficient, and deadly. Even helicopter crews carried shortened versions for defense. The rifle had finally earned its place. The solution arrived in late 1967. The M16A1. The improvements were simple and life-saving. chrome-plated chamber to resist corrosion, a forward assist to manually close the bolt, proper cleaning kits issued to every soldier, ammunition reformulated to match the original design, training manuals were rewritten. Instructors drilled cleaning discipline until it became ritual. The next year, the results were dramatic. Malfunctions dropped by nearly 90%. Soldiers stopped calling it a toy and started trusting it. The rifle's light weight gave patrols mobility in terrain where everything else sank or rusted. And for the first time, squads in Vietnam had true automatic firepower they could carry on foot. The M16's reputation began to change, one firefight at a time. In 1967, the problem exploded into public view. Congress launched hearings led by Representative Richard Ecord. Photos of dead soldiers clutching jammed rifles were shown on national television. Families demanded answers. The Army blamed the soldiers for poor maintenance. But investigators discovered the truth. The wrong powder, no cleaning kits, no training on maintenance. It wasn't negligence in the field, it was negligence at the top. The hearings were a national embarrassment. America had built the most advanced weapon in the world and sabotaged it through its own bureaucracy. Behind closed doors, the Pentagon admitted the weapon was not at fault. It was the system that fielded it before it was ready. But out in the jungle, soldiers didn't care about reports or committees. They just wanted a rifle that fired when they needed it to. When the rifle was sent in combat, engineers begged the Army not to change the formula. They warned that switching to cheaper ammunition powder would cause buildup inside the rifle. They also insisted on chrome lining the chamber to prevent rust in tropical climates. The Army ignored both. To save time and money, they skipped chrome. They changed the powder. And worst of all, they told soldiers the M16 was self-cleaning. So the first units that arrived in Vietnam received no cleaning kits, no brushes, no lubricant. They believed the weapon would take care of itself. But the jungle had other plans. Humidity, mud, and dust combined with the new powder to jam the rifles solid. Soldiers died trying to unstick their bolts in the middle of firefights. Some units began carrying shotguns as backup. One Marine wrote home, "Dad, my rifle jammed. They came out of the trees. We were lucky to live." That letter would soon end up in Congress. In the early 1960s, America wanted a modern rifle. The old M14 was heavy, wood and steel from a different century. The new weapon, the M16, promised speed, accuracy, and mobility. It fired a smaller, faster bullet, the 5.56 millimeter, so light that soldiers could carry twice the ammunition without extra weight. It barely kicked. You could stay on target and fire in automatic bursts. It was designed by Eugene Stoner, a civilian engineer, not a general. He built it for precision and efficiency. When the Pentagon saw the results, they ordered it for Vietnam quickly and in huge numbers. But that speed came with shortcuts. And shortcuts in war always find a way to kill people. In the end, the M16 story isn't about metal or mechanics. It's about human failure and human correction. A generation of soldiers learned that the battlefield punishes arrogance faster than any enemy can. They learned that every weapon is only as good as the trust between a man and his tool. For the ones who didn't come home, that lesson came too late. For everyone after them, it became doctrine. The Viet Cong stopped laughing. and the rifle they once mocked became the sound of American firepower for the next 50 years. In Vietnam, one report concluded, the weapon didn't fail the soldier. The system failed the weapon,